Hey everybody, it's Mo again. Last time we discussed obesity, what it does to your body, and why it's bad for your health. Diet and exercise are particularly important in maintaining a healthy body weight and leading a healthy life. In particular, diet is what I wanted to focus on today and talk to you about. So a diet doesn't mean that you have to eat less than what you eat normally, or that you have to eat a single type of food day in, day out. It just means what you eat, and it really depends on how you develop it in order to fit your needs and your tastes. But you want to develop it in such a manner that's healthy, and that's what I was hoping to talk to you about a little bit today. Now, let's start from the top. So, timing of meals in particular. People usually eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, some snacks in between. Breakfast usually being in the mornings, 8 to 9 a.m., lunch around noon, and then dinner, 5 to 6 p.m. And I just wanted to quickly mention that dinner, you don't want to eat it too late, like after 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. because you're not doing anything after that time. You're probably sitting at home doing some homework, watching a little TV, and sitting with your friends and family and relaxing, not really going out to play or anything like that. So you want to make sure you eat it a little earlier. That way, the amount of hours that you're awake helps burn away some of that food and use up that energy, okay? Particularly because remember, the reason that we gain weight is we have a surplus or extra energy that we take in as food that we don't expend or use. So, breakfast, you want it to be well balanced and you want it to be a good amount of food in order to give you that quick burst of energy in the morning, as well as give you enough energy to go throughout the day and last up until lunch. So an example of a good breakfast would be something like 2 eggs that have been poached or boiled, paired up with a piece of whole wheat toast, a cup of yogurt, a cup of milk, and also a piece of fruit like a banana or an apple. For your lunch, a couple hours later, you can have something that's a piece of grilled chicken put into 2 slices of whole wheat bread. Pair that up with a salad, with a little bit of salad dressing, and a great big glass of water. Now, water. Drinks in general, I want you to avoid sodas, sugary drinks like fruit juices, as well as anything really carbonated as well. And the reason for that is actually because sodas, which are carbonated and have sugar, are what's called empty calories. There's no mineral, there's no good vitamins in there. It really doesn't have much benefit for you. Yeah, it's sugary, it tastes kind of good, and you kind of like the pop and fizzle of it, but it is not good for your health, especially because they have what's called high fructose corn syrup as their source of sugar, and that has been shown to be a problem in kind of perpetuating and causing this overweight and obese picture that we're seeing in America. So avoid that, drink water. Carbonated drinks also, like even if you just have something like sparkling water or mineral water, the problem with that is that it's kind of acidic, and that can actually harm your teeth and cause cavities. So unless you like going to the dentist, I would ditch the sodas as well as any kind of really sparkling drinks or anything like that. And also to go along with that, apple, orange juice, these fruit juices have a lot of sugar in them. Not only are you unable to kind of gauge how much sugar they're contributing to your diet, but also they can stay in your mouth so long that they cause dental caries or cavities. And if you really don't like going to the dentist, again, stay away from those. Drink water, it's the best thing. Okay, so now we're done with that, we have an idea of what you can have for lunch. After lunch, you're probably going to wait a couple hours before you have dinner at 5 or 6 p.m. And that's going to be a couple hours, so you're going to probably need a snack. Now, a good snack between that time could be something like a good piece of cheese, such as like panela cheese or mozzarella cheese. You want to eat about 1 serving of that, which is about an ounce and a half, and we'll talk about servings later. But that portion would be something like about 2 fingers depth and width and length, about this much of a piece of cheese. Paired up along with some almonds, maybe 10 to 15 almonds is a good source of protein and healthy fats, which we'll talk about a little bit later, what's healthy and not healthy. And then that brings us now to your dinner. So dinner, it could be, you really want to make sure that you're getting in the rest of the food groups that you're supposed to be eating. So a good example of that would be having 2 medium-sized rice and bean burritos filled with veggies. So you could have a cup of rice that's been cooked, and you can divide that among the 2 whole wheat tortillas, put some beans in there, add in bell peppers, mushrooms, onions, leafy vegetables like cabbage, anything you like in there, wrap it up, heat it up, and have a pretty great meal from that. And that could be paired with, again, a good big glass of water, and that should be a really pretty good meal. And it's like, and you've also in that meal encompassed a lot of the food groups that we're going to discuss. Now, after dinner, you're probably going to get a little hungry and need a little bit of a snack. So a good snack there would be a cup of vegetables, maybe a big cucumber that you've cut up, salted it, put a little bit of hot sauce and lemon on there, or it could be another cup of yogurt or something like that that you enjoy to hold you over until you go to sleep. So that's just we just wanted to give you a quick overview and an example of a day's worth of food and what that would look like. Now, there are some particular diets that I'd like to discuss. One such diet is called the DASH diet. The DASH is actually an acronym. It stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. It was researched in adults and seen that it actually reduced hypertension in adults if they followed it in the right manner. Now, you're not adults. You're probably between the ages of about 10 to 13, and you may be like, okay, how does this apply to me? Well, you're going to be adults pretty soon in a couple of years, and developing good habits now that are similar to the DASH diet, I have a feeling will help you out a lot. So I just wanted to kind of focus on the food groups that they talk about in the DASH diet and the amount of servings that they suggest. Now, these are, the servings here are for adults, so but usually at your age, if you're in middle school, 12 to 14, you'll be needing about the same amount of calories, which be ranging anywhere from 1700 calories to up until 2200 calories. So these should fit the amount of intake that you're going to need as well. Okay, so I'm going to start from the higher amount of the type of food that you need to eat most of, and kind of end off in the type of food that you need to eat least of. Okay, so grains you want to take 6 to 8 servings per day. Grains, that could be 1 slice of whole wheat bread, 1 ounce of dry cereal such as like Cheerios. 1 ounce would be like half to 3/4 cup of like dry cereals like Cheerios, Trix, stuff like that. Okay, or a half cup of rice or pasta. All right, so these are all grains. And to kind of think about how rice, pasta are grains, rice itself is a grain. Pasta, it's made out of flour, which is made out of grains, and dry cereal is actually made of grains as well. It's just kind of manufactured in a way that looks kind of pop and whatnot, but it is made of grains. Veggies, you want to take 4 to 5 servings per day. Now, a serving of veggies is equivalent to 1 cup of leafy vegetables like cabbage or lettuce, a half cup of cooked or uncooked raw vegetables that have been cut up like mushrooms, bell peppers, stuff like that. And one thing about veggies is they have a good source of fiber, which helps keep your pooping schedule regular, your bowel movements regular. It has a good amount of vitamins in there and a good amount of minerals. So when I say minerals, I mean things like potassium and magnesium that we need in our daily lives to keep healthy. Next is up fruits. Fruits, you want to take 4 to 5 servings of a day. And an example of a fruit would be 1 medium fruit of banana or apple, 1 half cup of fresh fruit that's been cut up. Usually the fruits that we'll cut up are things like melon, honeydew, stuff like that, kiwis, or 4 ounces of juice, which would be things like apple juice or orange juice. Okay. Again, we generally suggest that you take in whole fruits because they have a good amount of minerals. They haven't been, processed or anything like fruit juices have. But if you must, a 4 ounce serving of fruit juice is equivalent to 1 serving of your fruit that you need for a day. Next up is dairy. You want to take 2 to 3 servings of dairy a day. Now that would be 1 cup of milk or yogurt, or it could be 1.5 ounces of cheese. And again, I said that 1.5 ounces of cheese is about the size of your 2 fingers, your index and middle finger, and kind of that volume there. Okay. And with dairy, you're going to get a good amount of calcium and vitamin D, which is great for your bones, and as well has a little bit of protein in there too. All right. Next up is our meats. So you have lean meats like beef, you have poultry, which is things like chicken, and you have fish. So you want to take 6 or fewer servings of that per day. And as far as the serving size goes, that's about 1 ounce poultry or things like chicken or 1 ounce of meat is equivalent to 1 serving. Now that's kind of hard to tell, 1 ounce. So let's say 3 to 4 ounces of meat or chicken would be about the size of a deck of cards, and if it were fish, about the size of a checkbook would be 3 to 4 ounces. Okay, so that's kind of how you want to think about it as far as the servings for that. In addition, 1 egg is equivalent to 1 serving of that protein group, which would be lean meat, poultry, or fish. Next up, fats and oils. So fats would be things like butter, which is whole or solid at room temperature, and oils would be things that are liquid at fats that are liquid at room temperature, such as vegetable oil, canola oil, olive oil, stuff like that. And really quickly, I want to talk about the quality of fats. So there are things that are called trans fats and saturated fats, which are bad for you, and there are things that are called polyunsaturated and monounsaturated, and the reason, which are great for you. And the reason that we like those fats is because they reduce the amount of bad cholesterol, called LDL, in your blood. They also decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease, which means disease of the heart and the blood vessels, which, again, kind of mixes in with the picture of atherosclerosis that we discussed in the last video, and can cause problems like heart attacks and stroke and stuff like that. So because of that, I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that you want to decrease your trans and saturated fats. Saturated fats are things that are in butter, in things like the fat from meats such as beef and stuff like that white trimming that you see there. And trans fats we'll see a lot in processed foods. Fast foods sometimes have quite a bit of trans fats in them, and you want to avoid those things. The polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats, you'll see a high amount in things like olive oil, canola oil, and you'll see it in nuts like almonds, pecans, walnuts, stuff like that. Avocado has a good amount of good oils for you as well. Okay, and those are how we want to kind of achieve that amount of servings for fats and oils. Okay, and a serving size for example, oils would be 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil or canola oil or something like that. All right. And inevitably, you're going to be in your family might be using that to cook some type of meat or something like that. All right, so you want to use as little as fats and oils as you can, and when you do use them, use the good stuff. All right. Now, last but not least, we have sweets. You don't want to completely deny yourself sweets like candy, a small piece of candy, jams and jelly that you want to put on toast or stuff like that. But you do want to minimize them, and you want to take 5 or fewer servings per week. All right. So a serving of that, let's say jelly, would be like about a tablespoon of sugar, jelly, or jam, or like a small piece of candy, for example. And generally, if you do want to enjoy sweets, try to go for things like sorbet, jelly beans, and stuff like that. Sorbet and jelly beans versus like Coke. Again, we talked about soda, why it's bad for you, and how you should avoid it in general. Okay, so that's just quickly going over the food groups and how many servings of each you should be eating a day and what a serving looks like. Now, you could use that in order to see what foods you want to eat. And for example, in grains, if you like whole wheat bread and if you like cereal, you can say, okay, I'm gonna have this many pieces of bread a day, this much cereal in a day, and then you can kind of juggle that. And for proteins, you can say, okay, I'm gonna have this piece of chicken breast is about the size of a deck of cards, which will be 3 servings, and then I'll have some almonds, like 10 or 15 almonds, or which will be my other serving of protein, and kind of see what foods you want to eat throughout the day. And then you could use something called a My Plate model, which is this great recommendation made by our government that kind of illustrates how your plate should look like. So I really like to use this to set up my meals, is where for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have this plate that you can look at, and half of it is comprised of fruits and vegetables. You have a good portion of grains there, and you have a small amount of protein there. And your drink is like a dairy drink. It could also be water, just as good. But it just illustrates dairy being there. And you could take the foods that you've determined and the amounts that you've determined using the recommendation I just gave you under the DASH diet, and assemble them for each meal using the My Plate model. Okay, and you'll be doing a quick little exercise at the end of this video to kind of illustrate that and go over that really quickly. Snacks are important. I already mentioned earlier what kind of snacks you can have, like some cheese and nuts and stuff like that. But don't forget, if you are feeling like a big craving, instead of going out and having a whole big meal in between breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner, just have a snack and drink some water and see how that makes you feel. Okay. So I'd really like you to do that worksheet after this video. The next video is going to discuss a little bit more about diet, and stay tuned for that. Okay, see you soon.